I have with me. Is that okay on Sean and Nick? The way I do that? Oh, okay.
Repeat it again for the people.
Uh, Rumble.com/ Jesse Lee Peterson. All right. And you can call in at 888-775-3773. I have with me Ethan Raff. He is back. Ethan is the host of the Kill Stream, one of the most banned shows on the internet and on this side of heaven. Ethan has, I've been on Ethan's show before a number of times. It's amazing. And he was on my show. The last time we talked was August 19th. And it was during Manhood Hour. And because we were rebuilding the family, about rebuilding the man, I had him on. And he was going through a lot with trying to visit with his children, I believe, or at least one of his kids. And I wanted to do a follow-up to see how Ethan is dealing with that, how things going. Ethan, welcome back. Thanks for coming back on. All is well. And so just to be clear, you had one child out of wedlock, right? Okay. And so are you still married to the woman that you married after you had the baby with? Okay. And so the last time we talked, as if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you and these, I guess both families or one of them you were arguing with because you wanted to visit to see your child and it was being made difficult for you. And you were arguing back and forth with them. And I suggested that you not argue with them, that we should never argue with the devil inside of our imagination or outside of us inside of others. We should forgive them. They know not what they do. What happened after this show?
They're saying they can't hear me on the chat, so I don't know if that's it shows as the audio on my side, so I'm not sure.
It's okay now, Nick? They're telling me it's okay now. They can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if they missed that first part, I was saying that I was still married and we're estranged, and we do have a child as well. Yeah, I kind of decided to take your advice, Jesse, to be honest with you, as far as so I guess I took it in one way, as far as my son, that's the situation we were talking about there, and then didn't really take it. I mean, I was still working on myself, but I was too focused on trying to contact my wife, and we'd had a little bit of a further falling out and weren't talking, and kind of got into my thoughts. I saw you tweet a week or two ago about all thoughts are a lie. That kind of, when you first read something like that, you think, that's wild. Who says that? Right. But then you think about it a little bit, and it's pretty true, honestly, at least for me. And I have a tendency to get really deep into my own thoughts and really, get lost in those. And, I followed your advice as far as my son goes, but didn't really as far as my wife and daughter go, and kind of pushed that situation further to the brink, I guess you could say, because I didn't listen to you. So yeah, I've decided to listen to you in both cases now, and try to just work on myself really and build myself up.
Yeah. Let's smoke on it for a minute. When you reflect on whatever been going on between you and these families, what good has come from that? Fighting with them, arguing with them, trying to make things happen. What good came from any of that?
Not a single thing. Not a single thing. Matter of fact, a lot of bad came from it. More than we would have time to talk about this morning. And, really poisonous things said back and forth, and, things that'll be out there forever, really, as far as my children are concerned, concerning both of us, and talking about my wife at this point, but also my, the mother of my son. And so, no, nothing's good's come from that at all. Just further towards the devil, I guess you could say, in terms of, standing. And, it feels good, I guess, in the moment. You think you're defending yourself, or you think you're putting your side out there. I guess it's a little bit different, being out in the public and people are saying all these things, and, you want to get your side out or strike back. And no, that's never served me well. I'm trying to get out of that mindset. It's a little bit difficult because you're used to, firing back and being out here talking to people and stuff. But no, it hasn't served me well at all.
And it never will.
Associated with
it never will. Every human being that you've ever met, that you ever will meet, that you know, and that you ever will know have the same problems that you were dealing with within the imagination and emotions, because they have identified with thoughts and feelings all their lives, growing up thinking that it's them, because you feel the pain in your body, whether it's a fake good feeling or a fake bad feeling. And no one told you as a kid, you know what, Ethan? Or they don't tell anyone, it's not you. Don't be angry. Don't identify with thoughts and feelings. It's not you at all. Had they told you that, it would have been over with a long time ago. But we are not our thoughts. We don't create thoughts. We have nothing to do with them but believe them, and that's where the problem is. The thoughts, and so you have two devils arguing with one another inside the thought and outside, inside of others. And devils love to argue because devils think that they're right. But nothing good comes from it.
Yeah, nobody told me that. And I guess, as you get older, you just get used to a mode of operation.
Yeah.
And you get used to fighting, quite honestly. You get used to being in your thoughts. And, it's kind of been a lifelong thing. But, as you get older and, that mode kind of costs you more and more.
Yeah.
You start, at least for me, now it's taken me a while, I'm not gonna lie, and it's taken me a lot of stumbles and a lot of public stumbles, but yeah, I've kind of come to that point where it's like, well, that mode of thinking is just really it's not working, it's not serving me well, and anything that I actually wanted escaped my grasp, or at least as far as the personal goes, because I was too into my thoughts and I was too into trying to convince somebody, or maybe you would say make somebody do what I want them to do, or come around to my way of thinking, via let's argue with them, or let's say this. These are the magic words, right? This is what's gonna change it. Yeah. And really, nothing's gonna change it except yourself and what you do. It's taken me a long time to figure that out, and I don't want to act like I have it all figured out, but yeah, I've lost a lot, and maybe it takes that sometimes.
Let me take a quick break. Hold on. 888-775-3773. We're going to get to your calls. 888-77-JESSE. Back in a moment. I want to go quickly back to my guest, Ethan. And Ethan is here giving us an update on how things have gone since we last talked. And Ethan, it sounds like you've given up the fight with these people about trying to get visitation rights, want to see them. And have you realized that they are dealing with the same imagination and feelings that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I guess maybe I didn't have much empathy for those people at the start. And of course, by the way, my staff told me not to say this, but I do love my wife, and said you would call me a beta if I said that. But but I do, and I've tried to have empathy for her, and sometimes that's slid into anger or whatever. But I've started to, at least the last week or 10 days or so, try to see it from their side, and understand that they're dealing with the same problems, the same thoughts, or similar thoughts, or their own thoughts, whatever. And that it's not really something I should take so personally, and I shouldn't be personally hurt by their thoughts as well as my own, right? I shouldn't take it on my heart, and I should try to just understand that they're dealing with life, they're dealing with things too, and also I haven't made anything better by not focusing on myself, right? So and they've had reason to have some of these thoughts because I haven't been I haven't been doing what I should do. If I had just sat back and just worked on myself and, done some things like that and, tried to focus on building myself up, I think things would have been a lot different if I would have taken your advice a little bit sooner. Yeah.
And why do you say you love your wife?
Well, he told me not to say that. Well, she did a lot for me, and we have a beautiful daughter, and she is a great mother, and I guess that would be the short version.
And so, why do you think you love her, though?
Well, can you love any woman? Is that what you're saying, or like?
Why do you think you love your wife?
I knew you wouldn't do that. He's tenacious, ladies and gentlemen. Well, she just was there for me in the hardest time of my life. My mother passed away, and was always there for me. And I kind of got lost in my own thoughts while we were married, and lost in my own demons, I guess you could say. And so, I guess that's why I think I love her.
So you're telling me why you love you. You're not telling me why you love your wife. Everything you just said was about you. She did this for me. She was there with me and my mom.
Well, I mean,
But why do you love your wife? Not because you're telling me why you love you.
Well, what do you mean then? Like, what are the qualities about her that I love? Or
I want to tell you this because I'm telling you don't love your wife, because if you loved your wife, you would let her go and not feel anything about it at all. But this feeling that you have is not love, because it's all about you. She did this for me. She did that for me. She was with my kids for me. It's all about you. But if you loved her, you wouldn't need anything from her. You wouldn't need any emotional fulfillment, anything. And if she stays, it will be fine. If she leaves, it will be fine, because you don't need her at all.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to, honestly.
Right, I understand that.
And yeah, so, I'm trying to, and I have been, just back off. Don't, we're talking here about it, but
right.
Don't attack her. Don't attack her family. And just, let her do her own thing. And I need to do my own thing. My own thing. You know what I mean?
If you want to overcome your wife, you got to overcome your mama. You got to forgive. You talk
about that a little bit.
All men hate women because they hate their mother. And every woman you get involved with will be the same spirit that was in your mother, and you're not going to be able to deal with her in the same way your father was not able to deal with your mother, because he did not overcome his mother. And so when you overcome the woman, you return to the father, then you deal with the woman, and all people, especially the woman, in a perfect way, with perfect love. And perfect love requires nothing from them or anyone. And the only purpose of getting married is to have children. It's not to try to get love or don't want to be lonely or all that crap. The only reason to get married is to have children. No other reason for marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about.
Did you forgive your mother?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I probably had more problems with my father growing up, but yeah, I forgave my mother. We talked about this a little bit last time when she was on her deathbed, actually.
Oh, okay.
I did forgive her.
You told her you were sorry for resenting her?
I did, actually. I told her I was sorry, and forgave her for anything, I said I was mad about, and, for any way that I let that affect me. And, she did the best she could.
Right. But did you realize at the time that your mother was crazy and she couldn't help but turn you away from your father?
No, I didn't realize that, actually.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I had more problems with my father. But looking back, my mother might have had something to do with that too.
Not might have had. You could bank on it. You saw your father through your mother's eyes. And your father loved you. He just couldn't deal with you because you were dealing with him. You were treating him the way your mother was treating him. You had to identify with her.
I think there's a little bit of truth to that for sure. And, they had problems. And when I was a kid, I used to kind of want them to get divorced, honestly, because I felt like my mother was being mistreated, and she was in certain ways. But, um, you know,
Your mother
looking
was
back,
not being mistreated. She was getting what she deserved. She was getting what she
well,
was putting out because your father couldn't deal with it. So two devils fighting one another. And your mother made pretend she was a victim, and you identified with her and you became like her. And that's why you saw your father in the same way she saw him. It was not you, it was her in you.
yeah, I think there's some truth to that for sure. That I saw him through her eyes, and then once they did get divorced, it actually hurt me, where
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna help me,
Yeah.
and when they did get divorced, it like really threw me for a loop because I thought that's what I wanted. I thought that's what was best for us, but it actually wasn't. It was the
Right.
worst thing. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, and it kind of threw my life. I mean, my life's been crazy ever since, really. And I was way more at peace with myself and just a different I was a child, I was like 12 years old, but I
Yeah.
was just different.
Yeah.
And changed my whole personality. And I thought it was going to change everything for the better, but it actually changed everything for the worse. And I remember my mother being like, for the rest of her life, she was like, stunned by that, really, because she thought she was doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and because my father was troubled, but she, it turns out that wasn't really the right thing. She loved my father the whole rest of her life too, and it wasn't necessarily the right thing for her either.
The worst thing that can happen to children is when the mother turned them away from their father, boys and girls. And she turned them and recreate them in her image. And the mother's image is nothing but hell because Satan is her God. It's all hell, confusion, worry, fear, and doubt, and argumentary, and emotional, and all that is pure hell that is being passed down to the children from the mothers or grandmothers. And then that's why God said that we must be born again of the Father. There will come a time when I return the children to the fathers and the fathers to the children. And the way you return to the Father is by forgiving your mother for turning you away from him, your earthly father, and forgive your father for not protecting you from her. And God will forgive you, and life will begin. You will have perfect peace, clear mind. You'll be in the world, but not affected by it at all, because you'll be living from your real world, from within yourself.
Yeah, and it's still a work in progress, but I've really been trying to take some of your advice aboard the last, like I said, but even before that, but I only took it halfway, right? I only did it in one situation, and
Yeah.
not when it should have been an all-encompassing
Yes.
type thing, and it wasn't, and it really doesn't work unless you apply it all over your life. And as far as what's going on, with my wife, like you said, if it's meant to be, or if it comes back together, that'd be great. But I have to work on myself and build myself up, and nothing good is going to come unless I
Yeah.
do that, and whatever will come. But I have to focus on building myself and being a good man on my own.
And every woman that you've been involved with was your mother. They were your mother. You were attracted to what you hated. And that's why when you got into a relationship, they couldn't work, because you were married to your mother and you became the son. You became the boy. Any man, the worst thing that can happen to a woman is for a man to need her. Women are not built to be there for a man to need her, except to how babies cook and clean and keep the house going, watch over his children. A man should never tell a woman his issues. He should always be of strength and not weakness. Women hate weak men. They'll take a weak man and destroy him and use him for their own thrill, because it's all about the thrill of it. Women and men too, they love the thrill of hating and false love. And they do anything to get that thrill. And women hate weak men. Their soul need a strong man that can bring them out of the hell that they're in. So forgive your wife, the first woman and the second. They cannot help themselves. Their mothers have turned them away from their fathers as well, and they are filled with hatred and not love. They cannot help it. And likewise, they're living in their thoughts and emotions, thinking that it's the right thing, and it's not.
Yeah, and I think you spoke some truth there too. And as far as you, that's happened to other men,
All
I'm sure
men.
as well, where their wife is more like their mother, and it should be you're strong, like you're the branch, or you're the tree trunk, right? And they're latched onto you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And I think it causes you pain, quite honestly, in situations like this, because you're used to, oh, where's my life raft here? And then they're gone, and you should have been able to handle that in the first place. That shouldn't have caused you to tailspin. That shouldn't have caused you.
That's right.
All this, and I think that's true as well. At least in my case, I think other people probably identify with that too.
Well, don't be angry at them. Forgive them. They know not what they do. They cannot see. So just cut out the argument. Work on you. Wish them well. Let them have the children. Don't cut the baby in half. Let them have it. And when you work on you, all things are possible. Your kids will end up coming back to you. But when they come back, you'll be of perfect love and not of anger. Anger is evil.
Yeah, and that's something I'm working on too. I'm known for my anger, I guess you could say, and it's a part of my show, really. Yeah. So it's something that I've tried to think about. As far as that goes, a little bit harder when it's part of your like public persona to get angry at people, and I think that's transferred over into my personal life too, where it's like, well, that's just part of me. And, it has to be, you have to watch that. You have to bring that down. Even if you're out here performing, you have to think about how that rubs off on your personal relations, and just that mode of like snap to anger, when that's a weakness. And, it's caused me a lot of pain as well, just being used to shifting to that mode. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I'm working on, I think I'm doing pretty good so far. It's only been like I said, a week, 10 days, but just wiping out those feelings and trying to deal with my own stuff, because that's what's gonna bring me the things that I want and the things that I need in the first place.
Are you doing the silent prayer? www.silentprayer.video. Are you doing it every morning, every night?
Well, I haven't been doing it every morning, every night.
Suffer and die.
Well, I've been doing it, but it helps clear your mind, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest problems. I was writing in my own little journal the other day. Been trying to do that a little bit too. I like to write, but as far as your brain, mine is at least, it's so overactive, and it could just jump from thought to thought. They might call this attention deficit disorder, but it can just jump from thought to thought, and it really gets fixated on the negative.
Yeah.
And you had the caller before, the devil woman, the one before her.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the future, and what if I don't go to the funeral, and what's my family gonna think? I'm the exact same way.
Every human being is like that.
Well, he thinks to one bad thought, and now he's already down 3 or 4 lines to the next, like 3 or 4 bad thoughts, right? And all of them are way into the future, and you really shouldn't even be thinking about those at all.
That's right.
Because you'll have plenty of time to think about them if they actually happen, and until they do, there's no point in worrying yourself over things that haven't even happened. And I have a real problem with that, where you get fixated on stuff like that.
Well, the one thing I want you to know for sure and without a doubt, there's no such thing as a true thought. All thoughts are all lies all the time. The ones that seem to be good, it's a setup because they make you feel good. And then as soon as you're feeling good, then a so-called negative will come. Now you're feeling bad. And as soon as you're feeling bad emotionally, now you're trying to make yourself feel good. All thoughts are all lies all the time. And there's no such thing as a future or a past. All you have is right now, this very moment. And one moment is another moment, it's another moment. There is no future or past. And whatever happened in the past, it happened then and it ended then. And the future will take care of itself if it should happen, if you learn to live in the present. And all thoughts are all lies all the time. They're not your own. They're straight out of hell. And you have these thoughts, and with the thoughts come feelings. You can't have the feelings unless you have the thoughts. And it's just all thrills. And human beings love to feel the feeling of thrills. They love hate it. They hate it and love it within themselves, and then they go after other people, try to hurt others so they can get a thrill from it. A so-called good thrill, but it's death. It's not life. But Ethan, all thoughts are all lies all the time, and they are not your own, and they are not from God. They come straight out of hell, and anyone that has anger living that hell, you can't help it.
Yeah, and like I said, I saw that tweet, and at first I thought, what does he mean? And then I thought about it. That was a thought, I guess. I considered it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty true, really. And like I said, I get lost in those all the time, and it really drives you down. It really drives you down, and it makes you do stupid things, and it makes you miserable. And there's a way to stop that. Just stop thinking about it. Clear your mind.
Well, the way to stop it is just to be aware. When you do the silent prayer, these are your thoughts. This is you, right? When you were traumatized by your mother, you ran into thoughts. And you start living in there trying to survive, not knowing you were going into hell. And now that you're an adult and you start to know what's going on inside of you, the light of God, especially when you forgive others, and don't argue with them, just forgive them, wish them well. And God's going to bring you out of these thoughts, and his light going to shine on the darkness, which are the thoughts, and you just let them pass. Don't try to pick out the good ones or the bad ones, because they're all set up. You just watch them and let them pass, and stay present and just live your life.
Like you're a pedestrian watching the traffic go by,
100%.
And all the different cars. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you can't stop them, but you can just watch them go by and just let them fleet.
And eventually they will become weaker and weaker and weaker, and they can't make you feel as strong, with pain as they do now, right? But they'll become weaker as you watch them, and eventually they will disappear. And that would be the spirit of evil leaving your body, because evil dwells in human body, the mind and emotions. And eventually the light will get rid of that, and you have a clear mind all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, Jesse. And I appreciate you having me here. And yeah, it's like cars going further down the street. You can see them; they're going further away, and away. Now they're gone. And so, sorry, but yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, sir.
Well, you have to do the silent prayer because it's spiritual, and there's nothing we can do about it. Human beings can't do anything about it. We just become the watcher of the not. We are not our thoughts and emotions, and we become the watcher of that and stop identifying with it, and you shall be free from it.
Well, thank you, sir. I think you gave me some good advice, and I wish I'd applied all of it sooner. But I have decided to, and I thank you for it.
And your website for folks?
Killstream here on Rumble, rumble.com/c/Killstream Live, and then the Ralph Retort on Twitter.
Ethan Ralph, folks.
Thank you for watching this clip. This is the CACA. Remember to like and subscribe.